Thomas Reed had spent 40 years building a life around responsibility, deadlines, meetings, people depending on him. Then one morning, the company held a small retirement luncheon. There were speeches, a watch, handshakes, and suddenly, it was over. For the first time in 4 decades, no one was waiting for him. Thomas's wife Linda still worked. She was 5 years younger and loved her job. Every morning she left early. The door would close softly behind her, and the house became quiet. Too quiet. Their children were grown now, living their own lives. Thomas stood at the kitchen window, looking out but deep in thought. He had always been needed. Now, he wasn't sure anyone needed him at all. One afternoon, Thomas got into his car and drove. No destination, no plan, just movement. The radio played softly. The window was open. He just needed something different. The road carried him farther than he realized, past town, past farmland, and eventually deep into the forest. By the time he noticed the lantern glowing beside a wooden sign, the sky was beginning to dim. Stillwater House, bed and breakfast. He pulled into the gravel drive. 5 hours. No wonder he felt exhausted. The air was cool and still. No signal on his phone. Thomas gave a quiet laugh. Well, that explains it. Truth was, he was tired, hungry, and in no shape to navigate unfamiliar roads in the dark. Warm light glowed from the windows. He climbed the steps and knocked. The door opened almost immediately. An older woman stood there, silver hair braided neatly, her smile warm and calm. "You look like you've travelled a long way," she said. Thomas smiled. "Farther than I planned. Any chance you have a room?" "Of course," she replied. "Please, come in." Inside, the warmth wrapped around him instantly. A fire crackled in a stone fireplace. Books lined the walls. An old clock ticked quietly in the background. Something about the place felt peaceful. "You must be tired," the woman said gently. "And hungry." Thomas chuckled. "You read people well." She smiled. "It comes with welcoming travellers." After signing the guest book and settling in, she brought him a simple meal. Soup, warm bread, cold water. Thomas took one bite and exhaled. "That's exactly what I needed." They sat together quietly. Then she asked, "You've been doing a lot of thinking today, haven't you?" Thomas nodded. "I just retired." She studied him gently. "And now you're wondering what comes next?" He gave a small laugh. "Something like that." Later, Thomas called his wife. "I found a small bed and breakfast," he told Linda. "I'll stay here tonight and head home in the morning." "Good," she said warmly. "You deserve to rest." They spoke in that easy rhythm of 40 years together, then said goodnight. Back by the fire, Margaret poured tea. "Tell me," she said, "what did you enjoy most about your work?" Thomas thought for a moment. "It wasn't the paperwork," he said with a smile. She laughed softly. "What was it then?" "The people." He leaned back. "I helped resolve conflicts, encouraged younger staff, helped people figure things out." She nodded slowly. "So, you helped people understand each other?" "I suppose I did." She looked at him kindly. "And why would that gift disappear? Simply because you stopped going to the office?" Thomas blinked. He had never thought of it that way. "Sometimes," she said softly, "when a chapter ends, we believe our purpose ended with it." She gestured toward the glowing lanterns outside. But purpose doesn't disappear. It simply changes shape. That night, Thomas slept deeply, deeper than he had in a long time. In his dream, he stood beside a quiet stream. Lanterns glowed along the water's edge. The forest felt still, almost sacred. Across the stream stood a man holding a lantern. Thomas's breath caught. Mark? The man smiled. Hi, Tommy. No one had called him that in years. Mark Anderson, his best friend. Gone 15 years. I've missed you, Thomas said. I know, Mark replied gently. You've been worrying, Mark said. Thomas exhaled. I feel like I've lost my purpose. Mark smiled. You've always been terrible at seeing yourself clearly. Thomas frowned. What do you mean? Mark lifted the lantern. You've always been the one who listened, who calmed things down, who helped people feel understood. Thomas looked down. I was just trying to help. Mark nodded. Exactly. 40 years later, you were still doing the same thing. Thomas had never seen it that way. Your job changed, Mark said, but who you are didn't. The lantern flickered softly. You still have wisdom, patience, a way of bringing people together. That doesn't disappear just because you retired. Thomas looked up. What am I supposed to do now? Mark's voice softened. Start by being grateful you're still here. Some of us didn't get that chance. Something shifted inside Thomas. Oh, Mark, I am so sorry, he gasped. That was so cruel of me. Tommy, there is not a cruel bone in your body, nothing to apologize for. You are just afraid and stuck, my friend. But you still have time, Mark continued. Time to live, to help, to guide, to appreciate what's in front of you. Mark smiled. You're not finished, Tommy. I volunteered to come tonight to remind you of the wonderful friend, partner, advisor, listener you are. Now go and continue the next chapter of your life, my friend. Live for us both. The lantern light slowly faded. Morning sunlight filled the dining room. The smell of coffee drifted through the air. I had a dream, Thomas said over breakfast. It felt real. The woman smiled gently. Sometimes the people who know us best help us see clearly. She looked at him kindly. What would you do if someone needed your advice? Thomas didn't hesitate. I'd listen first, then help them work through it. She smiled. That sounds like purpose to me. Thomas looked out the window. For the first time in weeks, he felt something returning. Not pressure, not obligation, but meaning. When it was time to leave, Thomas thanked her sincerely. That was exactly what I needed, he said. He stepped outside into the morning light, walked to his car, then paused and turned back. The house was gone. No porch, no lanterns, no windows. Only trees, and the quiet sound of a distant stream. Thomas stood there for a moment, holding the experience gently in his heart. His mind went back to the encounter with Mark. Now he absolutely knew it had been real. Heaven was where Mark was, still loving Tommy, still encouraging him. Thomas would not let his dear friend down. He looked toward the vacant lot and said a final thank you to Mark and, of course, Margaret, the magical innkeeper. When he returned home, Linda looked up. She didn't ask questions. She didn't need to. He walked toward her, and in his eyes, she saw it. Peace. She placed her hand over his heart. He exhaled. Everything that once weighed on him simply let go. She wrapped her arms around him, holding not the man he had been, but the man he had become. And she smiled, because he was finally home. Sometimes, the places we think we visit are not places at all, but moments meant to guide us back to ourselves. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe to our channel, hit like, and share this video with the people you love. We'd truly love to hear what you felt. What did you think of this story? Did it make you think of someone in your real life? Leave a comment below and share what is in your heart with us. Every comment you write is appreciated. We wish you good health, peace, joy in your everyday life. Thank you for staying until the end of our story. We will see you in the next video.